Welcome to the Innovation Lecture, where we will focus on doing something new or doing something old in a new way, which is how we define innovation. So throughout the session, we've talked about the difference between transactional leadership and transformative leadership. By way of review, transactional leaders satisfy basic needs, but transformative leaders fulfill their followers' higher needs for self-esteem and self-actualization. Transactional leaders exchange rewards for performance, but transformative leaders enrich and inspire. Transactional leaders maintain the status quo, whereas transformative leaders innovate big changes. Transformative leaders have to have charisma, the ability to connect and build trust. They are intellectually stimulated. They can foster effective problem solving and decision making. They're inspirational. They can motivate and communicate high expectations and performance. Transformative leaders are role models for change. They're change agents, social architects, idea stimulators, director of possibilities. Choose a descriptor for yourself as a leader. Transformative leaders innovate by communicating to their followers that change is desirable. Transformative leaders help their followers develop resilience, the ability to bounce back by recognizing and embracing the fact that followers have control over their own futures. A transformative leader innovates by managing tension between the past and the future. Innovation is all about change. So I went to an AWS conference and I bootlegged one of their slides, but it's labeled AWS and the sources are on the slide, just to share a few statistics with you. So according to this AWS conference, Amazon Web Services, 9 out of 10 leaders recognize that technology is changing the future of their industry. 70% of companies had a digital transformation strategy by 2018, and 1 out of 6 businesses are recognized as having innovation in action. So this shows that innovation is not hypothetical. Innovation is actually expected from you if you are moving into the corporate world and demanded of you if you are moving into the technology sector. So if you are leading a group of individuals into the future, they are going to be nervous about change because humans are always nervous about change. So here are some of the reasons why people resist change. Number 1, they have a lack of trust in leadership. Number 2, they have a lack of faith in their ability to do certain things. They have skill insecurities. And number 3, they feel that they might lose their personal power or status in the change. So as a leader, what can you do if these are the change challenges among your followers? Well, 1, you need to reframe the change as a desirable opportunity. Right? Not something that we have to do, not that we're being dragged into the future, but something that we want to do. It's an opportunity. Identify a team of supporters so that those people can also be championing the vision into the future. Communicate a compelling vision over and over and over again. As a leader, it's not enough to say once, we are moving into the future by insert change here, but you need to say it over and over again. Maybe it becomes a signature in your email line. Maybe it's t-shirts. Maybe you put it up on the whiteboards in the rooms where you're brainstorming. Whatever the new vision or mission is, make sure that you repeat it over and over and over again. Give people a sense of control over their futures. We've talked about collaborating. We know the importance of teamwork. Get the people on your team to feel invested in the change. So it's not something that's happening to them, but something that they are participating in. Allow people to act and take risks so that they don't feel powerless. Again, so that change is not something that's oppressing them, but it's something that's engaging them. And set SMART goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, so that your followers can see what your goals are and they can know exactly what they need to do to reach them. Emphasize achievements. When team members are doing things well, celebrate them. Institutionalize progress. Find ways to celebrate the progress of your team and make innovation the norm. So it's not just something that's a really big shift that happens once in a while, but make innovating and the process of changing and doing something new or doing something old in a new way part of what's happening. Maybe you also let your followers know that not changing is more risky than changing. And sometimes we call this winter is coming. So those of you who are Game of Thrones fans, you know what I mean. But this idea that winter is coming, like the world is going to change significantly. And if we can't keep up with that change, we are going to be left behind. So we need to be adaptable. We need to be prepared. We need to be flexible for the future. The answer to the leadership challenges of the future lies in changing the processes, the behaviors, and the thinking of the past. And perhaps it goes without saying, but you can do all of these things, and if your followers don't trust you, you won't make any progress. So be the type of leader that your followers trust, that they believe in, and your communication is open, it's honest, it's candid, and communication flows in all direction in your organization. It flows up, it flows down, it flows across, so that your followers, again, feel like they have a stake in the change. We can think about change on this continuum with evolutionary on one end, incremental, continuous improvement, evolutionary change. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have revolutionary change, which is a radical breakthrough. It takes longer, but it's massive shifts in vision, purpose, mission, values, people, processes, systems, etc., right? So if you were doing evolutionary change, that might be in product development. Your team is working on a particular product. You're making these small changes to the product to make it better, to produce it faster, to reach a bigger audience. The revolutionary change might be we're shifting the entire mission of our business. We are doing a huge pivot. First, we used to do X, and now we're going to do Y, which takes a complete and total shift. Now, even though I presented them to you as a continuum, I want you to know that you can be anywhere along this line, this arrow in the middle here between evolutionary and revolutionary. And maybe evolutionary and revolutionary are working at the same time. So your company is going through a huge mission shift at the same time where you're making smaller changes in product development. So evolutionary and revolutionary change can work in tandem. So here's another bootleg slide from AWS, because it's important to think about reinvention and innovation as a consistent part of a process for your organization when you're a leader. So first, you align leadership vision and goals. You make sure that you know where you want to go. And then you prioritize people and learning culture. And we talked about this in valuing diversity. And then you'll continually making improvements. You're integrating, you're migrating, you're modernizing. And then AWS, of course, because it's a cloud service company, they want you to have a cloud operating model. Like, you don't have to do that, but in this Drive Operational Excellence box, you can think about what kinds of technologies or systems you might use to help your organization become as efficient as possible. And then next, iterate through data-driven analysis. And this is actually very important because followers are less likely to follow you if they don't know why they're doing what they're doing. So remember, we talked about the SMART goals, right? Your SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That's part of the data-driven analysis. Well, what do we do? How did it work? What data do we have that suggests we should continue to move in this direction? As a leader, if you have data, whether that data is numerical or whether that data is qualitative and talks about your customers, your clients, your employees' experiences, it will help your followers understand the vision and move forward, right? And so then after that, you can see the continuation of the loops here. This looping system also reminds us that reinvention and innovation are processes that are constantly happening. Ideas make change possible. Ideas without constraints make change more possible. And this is another quote from your textbook, and it reminds us of the collaboration lecture when we talk about brainstorming. So ideas without constraints, when you let your followers come up with their own ideas, take their own risks, engage in the possible rewards, learn from possible mistakes, then it makes it easier to innovate and it makes change possible. So the reflection question for this lecture is, what must you change to become a transformational leader? Is there something you need to change about yourself, about your outlook on life, about your professional goals, about your organizational skills, about your people skills, about your environment. Do you need to put yourself in places where you'll be more challenged? Do you need to learn new skills? But what must you change to become a transformational leader? And this concludes the Innovation Lecture.